Evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 9th, 2025 Concord Planning Board meeting. We have a hybrid meeting, so we'll be taking a roll call vote. So attendance, excuse me. Alan
Bogosian, present.
Sue Felsham
Here.
and Boardman present. And Pat, are you on?
Yes,
Here?
I'm here. Thank you.
And myself, a yes, here. Sorry, because you just had your entered as Peter there. There we go. All right, so
Elizabeth, would it be okay?
Oh, thank you. Somebody stole our mouse.
Typical.
I think
moving on to the first item on our agenda for 7 p.m. The definitive subdivision public hearing in accordance with provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81T, and the Town of Concord subdivision rules and regulations to review the definitive subdivision plan application of 874 Barrett's Mill Road LLC for improvement of a new roadway and the creation of 4 new building lots at 874 Barrett's Mill Road, parcel 1994. Do we have someone representing?
Yes, I believe. Michael Novak.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Mike Novak from Patriot Engineering. I can jump in if we're ready to go.
Absolutely. Take it away.
All right. I will pull up the plans and I'll need permission to share.
hang on one second.
Sure.
There you go, Michael.
Thank you. Bear with me one moment while I pull up the plans. And can everyone see?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, the TV, it's a little hard to see the TV, so I can't tell if it's up or not. So thank you. As you said, we're here for 874 Barrett's Mill Road, a proposed definitive subdivision. Barrett's Mill Road, 874 Barrett's Mill, shown right in the middle here in yellow, just to the east of the Route 2 rotary. Just to refresh everybody's memory, it's been a little bit since we've been in front of you. We thought it was worth coming in to update where the changes we've made and everything we've done up till now. We do still have a few low-hanging comments from both engineering and DPW. As a preface to this meeting, we're working to have a sit down to finalize all of those all of those comments prior to your next meeting. But we thought it made sense to get the board up to speed to where we're at now, and hopefully there's just some minor tweaks in bringing you a final plan set here in the future. So to jog everyone's memory, the parcel is located, 874 is a pork chop type shaped lot. The majority of it is approximately just under 10 acres. We have wetland resource areas on all 3 sides. These have been, we're working through with conservation concurrently. I believe we meet with them next week to get them up to speed and get close to wrapping up with them as well. So there's been comments incorporated from both the board and from conservation as well. So as it exists now, it's just open space. It has been multiple types of uses. Very flat site. You can see that there's not a lot of contours back and forth one way or the other. There's a strip of land. I'll zoom in a little bit here. That fronts Barrett's Mill, 54 feet to be exact. There's an existing gravel drive that brings you to the back of the site. We have one single family, 2-story building, a garage, a large garage and a smaller garage, and again, some gravel area and some spoil piles and again, mostly open space. The proposed plan shown here is a 4-lot subdivision with a proposed right-of-way with a turnaround. 4 individual lots, individual houses, all having driveways off of the right-of-way, all staying outside of any no disturbance zone. You can see that the rear lots do infringe on buffer, so they will need individual conservation approvals as well. We are in, as I said, for the road itself right now because we clearly go through resource area buffers as we enter the site. Uh, each house will have its own roof collection system and the roadway for stormwater, and the roadway will have a series of catch basins collecting the runoff from the majority of the roadway and bringing it to this large infiltration system here. And with that, I can start talking about some of the changes since we've last seen it. And I'm going to zoom in on the front. If you remember, we were proposing a strip of porous pavement to the front to mitigate for the very last little bit of the right of way towards Barrett's Mill. We've since changed that, and we're going to propose a trench drain to collect and stop any stormwater runoff into Barrett's Mill and bring it into a level spreader that will also function as an infiltration trench. That does have an emergency overflow, and there's a high point in the proposed right of way in this general area, so there's not a lot that is being collected. So we feel as though that's adequate. The other piece that has changed is we have worked with the owner of this property. I'm going to mess up the number. I forget exactly what it is. But the next door neighbor to gain a temporary grading easement. This allows us to remove the retaining wall, if you recall, as one of the discussion items from the last time, which would have required, I believe, a waiver. So we've eliminated that wall with the allowance of this temporary grading easement to grade off the shoulder of the road. We are providing an access to this proposed right-of-way to the rear of this adjacent lot, and we're proposing some grading to give them some level area and to, again, mitigate any stormwater that would be running off towards them. This will be a high point here with a driveway connection to this right-of-way. We've also conducted witness soil testing from engineering. That was one of the bigger comments from last time in the area of the infiltration system. So I think we've satisfied that comment. And we've also added some grading and individual yard drain catch basins for these driveways to show that they will be collected. There was some ambiguity as to whether or not they would make it into a system. I'm just checking my notes here to make sure I cover everything. One of the things we did get it as in one of the comments back was that Concord Engineering agrees that the sidewalk waiver makes sense as long as the road is to remain private, and that is our intent moving forward. There was also a question of whether or not we would have asphalt or concrete berm out here. We've made clear the designation that this will be asphalt berm for the curbing, and that's essentially the biggest. I will bring you to the landscape plan. We did make some comments to satisfy some of conservation's concerns. We've added some signage details delineating the conservation area and the pollinator meadows. We also added a note. There was a lot of notes on this plan, but I believe it's this one here. Per our conversation last year, is that it's not that one. Sorry, I know it's on here, but it was to capture the thought of maybe we don't plant all the trees as shown in this very rigid layout on the road, but we reallocate with the help of conservation and planning to redistribute some of these trees. Apologize, I should be able to point to that note, but I'm almost positive it's on there. But with that said, happy to answer any questions. Anything that's still left out there that's adding any confusion. But Mr. Chair, I'll bring it back to the board now for questions. Thank you.
Does anyone on the board have any questions?
Well, I'm not sure how relevant it is, but I'm confused. You mentioned something about adding a driveway near the front
Yes.
behind the next door property. What is that a driveway to?
Well, sorry, I want to get to went past it. Let me get a visual for you and then I'll happily answer that. So this is just a connection to allow this back of this lot area to have a level area. I believe he's going to use it for storage and parking of vehicles in a temporary sense. But the
Ah.
idea, yeah, but the idea was instead of having to come through his lot, because there is his existing houses in this general area here. The idea was honestly as a trade for the temporary easement, he asked for a driveway connection, which we felt was a reasonable request.
Okay. All right, thanks for explaining.
Sure.
Andrew, I have a
Yeah.
question. When we talked, last time about the sidewalk, I may be getting my projects confused, but I think there was some discussion about where we have approved a waiver for a sidewalk for other subdivisions. And I don't know, Elizabeth, can you refresh my mind? Is this a unusual thing for their 4 houses to waive the sidewalk, or?
I thought in your copious free time, you were going to look for comparable projects.
So the planning board has often waived sidewalk requirements. Especially 2-lot, Walden
Right, but this
Street,
is
Garrison 4, but it's still, it's a dead end cul-de-sac. The conversation last time was, the speeds of this road, it's not a straight shot. And so the indication, the majority of the board members from the last meeting were in support of granting the waiver. So that's the direction the applicant went with the plan. The Main Street, Saddle Road and Harness Lane, a sidewalk waiver was granted except for on Harness Lane, but only because it connected through to, old Marlboro. Yes.
As a
Um,
pedestrian.
for-
Yes.
Yeah, for pedestrian access through there. But yeah, I have not, looked at all the past, the ones that I can think of. Yes, a lot of times the sidewalk waiver is granted for smaller projects.
And my understanding was we were actually getting to the point where nearly changing the rules because it was so common to grant the waiver. It felt like it was like, well, why even have to make the applicant go through that if it's under a certain number, we just,
To that point, we also talked about the lighting part of it as well, because there's no sidewalks,
Mhm.
there's no lighting.
Right,
Yeah,
which
so that's,
is a two-edged sword. I mean, there's the curve, but on the other hand, well, I was kind of in favor of a sidewalk, but I also recognized if there was a sidewalk that would really squeeze at the front of the property, and there's considerations of natural resources. And anyway, I'm overwritten, so there it goes.
So I can look for other subdivisions. Those are the ones that I know off the top of my head.
Well, I
Larger ones like Symes, that one, that has sidewalks and, that's a much larger
Yes.
project.
what about the two house development as you approach Route 2 up by the high school on the right?
That
A
has a
waiver.
waiver.
Right,
But it's a two.
Right,
yeah.
Sure.
But it sounds like there is a precedent for this, granting this waiver for
Yes.
up to four properties. Yeah, my only concern is kids getting to the bus, which I'm assuming would be coming down Lowell Road.
So,
Barrett's
I mean,
Mill.
Barrett's Mill, because I mean,
I mean,
I'll
Bears
give
Mill,
you
yeah.
my situation, I live on Comerford and the people at Black Horse bring their children down to Comerford and that's, it'd be kind of the same situation there.
Mhm.
So, that's what would happen. Does that answer it, Pat, or?
No, I
Also-
didn't quite get it, yeah. But if
Also,
there
the
is a
large-
precedent, if we've done this before, then there's been consideration of this. I'm not gonna,
Sidewalk.
Yeah, yes, there's, the planning board has granted sidewalk waivers, based on individual projects and situations. So for this project, the discussion had to do with, not having, due to the wetlands and the farmland, next door at the prison, there's not gonna be streetlights. And so and then the adjacent wetlands. There's no hard and fast waiver rule that says if you have 4 or less, you don't have to have a sidewalk. That's probably something that's gonna be discussed as part of the subdivision rules and regulations update. But yes, sidewalk waivers have been granted often historically.
And also in looking at that neighborhood directly across the street, Grove Street and Assabet, which are both larger than this subdivision and older, do not have sidewalks either. So
Well, that doesn't seem fair to.
it's just worth noting that other places, it's not like everywhere has a sidewalk, but this. It's not that
Well,
it's not that,
that's true,
Yeah,
but
that's all.
if they should have had one, that's no reason to deny it to somebody else. It's just that the other reasons for not putting one here are overriding, in my opinion.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else on board? That'd be good.
So at this time, Christine is setting up a meeting with the applicant, engineering, water and sewer sometime either this week or the beginning of next week. Make sure everybody's on the same page, get all the comments finalized. And then we'll also have, final review comments from Natural Resources Commission. So I think for your next meeting, January 9th, that most issues and concerns will be completely resolved. So I don't know if the board's comfortable, if we can present a revised report or a draft decision for consideration by the board, if that's the direction the board would like to go.
For myself, I think we can go with the draft decision. Not
I
sure.
would say so, as long as engineering, natural resources, et cetera, are all taken care of.
As long as they give the check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat, how are you feeling about that?
I would agree. That's fine.
Great.
Thank-
Any other questions, Michael?
No, I appreciate the input. I think that we're comfortable that this is where we'd like to push this layout and the way it is forward. We did work to get rid of that wall. I know that was an issue. We appreciate the conversation of the sidewalk, and again, the reasons for it, I think, outweigh the reasons for the waiver, I think in my opinion, outweigh the need for it. And I appreciate the input. And just to keep everyone in, I just got an email from Christine that we'll either meet Thursday or Monday. So, as you said, by the beginning of next week, we should have everything clear and be able to get this turned around and finished. So.
So I do need the board to one, the applicant has provided a time extension. Christine, I don't remember or Michael, if you remember the date.
I believe it was extended through January 23rd. So it was after the second planning board meeting that month.
I believe that's correct.
So I do need the board to continue the public hearing to January
6th would be the next meeting.
I keep wanting to say the 9th, January 6th at 7 p.m. and accept the time extension to January 23rd.
Okay, I move that the planning board continue the application for definitive subdivision plan for 874 Barrett's Mill Road LLC for improvement of a new roadway and for creation of 4 new building lots at 874 Barrett's Mill Road, parcel 1994 to January 6th at, I have forgotten what
7
time.
PM
7 PM.
and accept the time extension to January 20th.
And accept the time extension to January 23rd.
I'll second.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote again. Pat Nelson,
Aye.
Tom Bojin,
Aye.
the question,
Aye.
Andrew Borden,
Aye.
myself, Rob Almeida, yes. Thank you very
Appreciate-
much.
Thank you.
Moving to the next topic, we're gonna go into administrative business. The first item is public comment. Public comment is limited to up to 15 minutes with no more than 3 minutes allocated to any one speaker. Public comment is limited to items that are not on the agenda. Here in the room, we're empty. Let me see if we have anyone online. I don't think we do. Okay, I'm gonna move on. So moving on to item number 2, 1521 and 1533 Monument Street approval not required plan.
Okay, so this is a very quick plan. It is just an even swap of 685 square feet. This is the existing property line going straight down the middle. This area right here, parcel B, is going to be given over to 1533. And then this area right here, parcel A, is going to be combined with 1521. It does not change the area or the frontage for each lot. And it only changes the configuration. So it is recommended that the board endorse the plan as approval not required, because both lots have adequate frontage and area on the public way. And authorize the town planner to sign the plan.
Makes such motion that.
Perfect.
All right, can I get a second?
A second.
All right, we'll go through a roll call vote again. Andrew Boardman.
Yes.
Sue Falshon.
Aye.
Alan Bogosian.
Yes.
Pat Nelson.
Yes.
Myself, Rob Almeida, yes. Okay.
Great. Okay, the next A&R plan is right up off Lowell Road.
It's 1075 Lowell Road.
This is a very large property. I think it's 5, 6, 7, it's about 80 acres. Lowell Road is on this side and extends all the way back to this side. As Andrew noted, there are 2 sheets for this plan because the property is so large and extends down here. The property owner is carving off parcel A, which is basically the rear 29, a little over 29 acres of the property. The remaining lot 1 will be 55, almost 56 acres. This is labeled parcel. It is, there's a note that this is not a building lot. The parcel is actually going to be conveyed to the Concord Land Trust. And if you were to look on a map, the Land Trust has a large lot on one side of this, and then the Land Trust has a lot on the bottom. So this will make a connection. So it's pretty exciting that they're able to work with the property owner to do this. So it is recommended that the board endorse the plan as approval not required. It is changing the configuration of lot one, that has adequate area and frontage on Lowell Road. And the other parcel is labeled not a building lot. And authorize the town planner to endorse the plan.
I move we do what you just said.
Perfect.
Alright. Again, we'll go with the roll call vote. Pat Nelson,
Aye.
Alan Bogosian,
I,
Sue Felshin,
I,
Drew Boardman.
Yes.
And myself, Robert made a yes.
on a land trust, when, this is from my own knowledge, when a piece of land is in a land trust in Massachusetts, does that mean it's open to the public?
No, it is, the Concord Conservation, the Concord Land Trust is a private nonprofit land trust. And so the land is open to trust members,
Okay,
but anybody can, sign up to be a member of the trust. It's similar to like the Nature Conservancy.
okay, got it. Cause in New Hampshire, if it's in that designation, then it's open to the public.
So I think in New Hampshire, when you as a property owner put your land in that type of
Right.
conservation trust, you still own the land.
Right.
But you've now, opened it up to the public, and that's the tax benefit you
Yeah,
get
Right,
by
that's
having
right,
public
that's right,
access.
that's been-
The Concord Land Trust is an actual nonprofit entity, similar to the Nature Conservancy.
Got it.
Yeah, so they actually own the land.
Yeah.
So the answer is no, but that's.
No, but you can easily become a member, and because they actually do own quite a bit of land in Concord that have some amazing trails on it.
Excellent. Okay. Next item on the agenda are the potential 2026 annual town meeting zoning bylaw amendments.
So I'm gonna start with the fun one. Let's start with wireless.
Mhm.
So this really is, the first rough, I'm gonna say rough draft that we worked with town council on. And I will be meeting with town council later this week to kind of, talk about how to approach the explanation so that we can have a draft for you to review at your next meeting. So I think at this time, I did see Sue sent an email. I don't know if you want to.
I don't think
go through it.
anything needs to be brought up in this meeting at this time. There was a whole bunch of little stuff, but I don't think we need to discuss it here. You and town council, maybe you can
Sure,
suffer.
yeah, because
I mean, discuss
I
it.
looked at quite a few of your, and a lot of it is, that's a much better way to phrase that sentence. So I don't see any issues, with,
But I
a
don't
lot
think
of
we
it.
need to talk about that at
No,
this time.
I don't think so. So I think at this point, what I'm looking for and town council is looking for is, are there any really outstanding questions or concerns or things in this draft bylaw that just jump out at you, or
It seemed like a really good start to me. I mean, a really good initial draft.
I was.
Oh, right, the only real question I still had was, it includes facilities not requiring site plan or special permit. Oh, that should be site plan review.
What section are we in?
7.8.3.3, item 4 is an increase in the height of a facility by up to 10 feet or by 10%. And I still do have some concerns that could lead to mission creep.
So the 10 feet, I'm not sure about the 10%. I will have to check with town council on that, but I do know the 10 feet That's in the FCC guidelines. They-
Well,
They are,
if
it
that,
is a building permit to increase the tower by 10 feet. You
okay,
can, and, increase, it's the height of the facility. And then it's also, you can expand the ground area. And I think the ground area expansion might be the 10%, so I do need to check
okay.
that one, but those.
but if it's in federal law, then there we are, there's nothing to do about it.
That's very, and changing out antennas for like one type of technology for another technology is also just a building permit.
Right.
So that's where those five,
Items come from.
5 items come from.
I don't know if it goes in the explanation or the presentation, but it would be helpful in one or both of those to be clear to the public about which of these things are coming from federal law.
Yeah.
And so they're going in there whether, no matter what anybody does or does not like about it. Yeah,
Yeah, that may be. that
Yeah,
may be-
that's definitely part of the explanation.
That may be like the extra slides you have at town meeting, oh, by the way.
Yeah,
These are all the things we can't possibly change.
yeah,
and we could also hold as a reserve slide in case.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
All right,
It's
yeah.
like all of a sudden someone starts nitpicking like various things. You say, okay, well,
We have no.
here are the 15 things we can't possibly
Right.
touch.
Yeah.
Would be useful.
and and that's really is gonna, when I speak to town council is, because I actually think that's like slide number 3 in the presentation, not a
Yeah.
backup slide. It's just like, and so I, some of the major components of this is, like getting rid of the wireless overlay district,
Mhm.
because it doesn't mean a thing. You show you have a gap in coverage under federal law, you basically can go anywhere.
Right.
So for this bylaw amendment, I think it's gonna be important to kind of focus on the parameters for approval. And when you say, camouflage to, reduce impacts and those standards that are in here, I think those standards are, what I feel, kind of everybody should think about how to approach that.
I did have a question about that. So for the proposed tower not located within 300 horizontal feet of wetlands and vernal pools, is that a normal building standard or is that more restrictive?
Or is that required by the FCC?
No, but it can't be within 300
Right.
horizontal feet is the way it's written. And it seems like it would go the other way if it was like, you can't regulate that if it's.
Oh, I see what
within-
you mean.
That's what I'm saying is, I kind of understand the historic structure one more and the endangered species one more. But where it sounds stupid, it's just a wetland and you could build another structure within it. Doesn't that seem to go against the idea of like maximizing whatever, opening this up a little bit more? Cause I'm not sure that number comes from anywhere. That's the only thing. I don't know.
Are wetlands 150 feet?
That's what I thought, is
Right.
that you normally wouldn't be
Right.
restricted more than whatever the wetland
Right.
line is, and it's 100 or 150.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's 100, I think, yeah.
Okay, I will,
If we're trying to say, look, the goal is to get rid of this silly stuff. It seems focusing on the stuff that we think is important, or that the town would think is more important, and people might think differently, but. I know the historic district one's like a third rail, that like, you're never gonna be like, oh, look, put a cell tower, it's only 100 feet away from
Mhm.
the old man, so that's fine. You're never gonna win that fight, but. Yeah.
yeah, I will ask, definitely. Yes, because for a vernal, Well, check the vernal pool, but definitely wetland, you know,
Is 100,
It's
yeah.
100 feet.
Right.
Is the jurisdiction.
That's the one that stood out.
Okay, yeah, I will check into that one. Some of the other things that were, removed, the existing bylaw has a whole monitoring section for, RF.
Oh, radiation.
And, you know, again, that's not something that the town can require or, there was also,
Has to be.
you know, monitoring protocols, which is also something that the town can't require. Another section that got removed is, you know, they had to, as a condition, provide, insurance, or basically a bond. If the company ever goes bankrupt, then, you know, there's a bond to take the tower down. And that's.
Yeah.
If the tower's on town land, the town's gonna require insurance and require, you know, all of that as part of the lease. If the tower's on private property and the company goes under, you know, the town cannot be responsible to force the cell company to remove a tower that's on private property. So, town council agreed with me that there's no reason to have that in there. The same thing, a section was removed that requires the tower that would be on private property to provide insurance certificate to the town, with the town being added as an additional insurer. And I'm like, well, it's private property. And so town council agreed that that could come out as well. So, so some of the things,
I don't even think anyone would give you that. I don't have an interest. Anyway,
the things that, you know, did stay is, you know, the yearly, you know, structural report. You know, yes, that should be submitted to the building commissioner. So there's, you know, reasonable conditions. And so.
I'll also note that I appreciate the requirement that if it's near the edge of town, proving that a certain percentage of the benefit goes to the town of Concord. That was my favorite, like, I'm joking.
Yeah,
provision.
so that, as town council informed, that's also illegal.
Yes.
Or that you should look in other towns first before you come to
Yeah.
Concord.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. But, you know, when that bylaw was first written, you know, cell towers. You know, there was a lot of anxiety about it, and that's a lot of communities. You quickly just drafted, you know, things, so. So I'm actually pleased with, the changes. I do think with the explanation and the presentation are gonna, you know, is gonna be what's gonna be challenging.
I think if we put together a slide, kind of with a lot of those points that have been removed and why. Quoted in the FCC section, I mean,
Yeah,
at least we have that explanation. Will people like it? Probably not, but
probably not, but
you know, at least we have, so just. Probably going down the rabbit hole with the insurance, but what about if there is a standalone tower that's on the edge of the property that's adjacent to another, to say the town property? Wouldn't the town at that point want to be neighbors of the shared?
No,
If-
because it has to be far enough from the property that if it falls over, it won't fall onto some other property, so I don't think it's
Yeah.
relevant.
But that would also be part of the building department or the
Mhm.
building commissioner to inspect these, just as a drive by, just to inspect it and say, hey, you gotta do something with that. The
Well-
owner.
so, one, I don't think the town has the ability to require an applicant as a butter,
Mhm.
require them to provide insurance, because that would be, you know, the same as you know, any other private landowner. The town can't force an applicant to insure an adjacent, against something to an adjacent property owner. To sue, and, Alan's point in here is, the setback for the tower, depending on the height, you wouldn't be able to site it, a brand new tower that close to the property line, they do have breaking points where they do break and certain sections fall down, and it has to be that far from the property line based on each one of those sections. But for the example where I don't see new towers being, I see more, I'd love to see especially in the historic districts, in Concord Center. It could be a small roof mounted in the center of
Mhm.
one of the roofs that doesn't have to, extend 30 feet, above, but can extend, 10 feet above, and, from all different vantage points, you're not gonna see it. Or, they have incredibly camouflaged antennas that can be on this, the side of the building, and, it looks like painted brick.
Right.
Right.
So I see from a
Yeah.
approval and a criteria standpoint, those types of situations. Where, and also if it's a new tower that's completely, and I think that's in here. If the antenna is completely inside, a cupola or a steeple, then they don't need a special permit. You need site plan approval because you're gonna have some ground mounted equipment somewhere, and almost all wireless facilities now have backup generators
Mhm.
for a period of time. I'll have to ask the building commissioner how our fossil fuel free
Doesn't pertain
into
to
generators.
Right.
So the siting of a generator needs to be taken into consideration.
Also the noise of the
Yeah.
generator
That's, yeah.
in the back of the building, yeah.
We at 7 o'clock in the morning, we have
Exercise.
Cat and Kohler Wednesday. So the Kohler one takes off first for 25 minutes, and then when that one's done, the cat over there takes off, so.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that they're exercise. Mhm. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, oh, sorry, my.
Just first of all, thank you for taking this on, appreciate it, and the select board is here to help you any way we can. I just want to comment on 7.8.3.1. It looks like there's some typos. It says facilities on existing structures on.
Yes, so just a quick catch. Yeah, so I'll run, it's happened a couple of times. So I'll run through, quite a few of the edits, and make all those corrections. Meet with town council, I think it's actually this Thursday, strategize about the explanation. And then for your meeting on January 6th, you'll have the next draft. And because then after that, you have one more meeting. The warrant closes on the 23rd. So.
Okay. Any comment on this item at all? See any online? So let's move on to the MBTA article.
So the revised draft for the MBTA article that you have, the only changes were in the explanation, adding the map, showing Concord Green being added. I did meet with I don't know if it was all of the board of directors for Concord Green. It was three or four of them. Treasurer, and went through and basically provided the explanation why the planning board is moving forward with this. A couple of people, understood, a couple of people were, still concerned about being added into the district and what that means. So under the map, that's where I included that additional explanation that having Concord Green in the MBTA communities, this is an exercise for the town to be found compliant. Is this going to create more housing? No. And is that somewhat, not in line with the, the goal and purpose and intent of the law? Yes. But the town, the planning board went through a year and a half of a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions to get the MBTA districts that we have, approved. And I think at this time, trying to do anything more expansive puts us in jeopardy of not being found in compliance by the June 12th date. And town staff in a lot of different departments have been actively being more aggressive about getting grants. And I just see the one major grant where a lot of grants being found in compliance is a criteria for a review. But the MassWorks grant program is if you're not in compliance, you aren't eligible flat out. And, I think with what's happening with our current wastewater treatment plant, not sure what's going to happen with the MCI Concord wastewater treatment plant with the moving forward with a new water treatment facility. I just don't feel it's prudent to jeopardize not being in compliance.
And I would argue we are in compliance already with the intent of putting zoning districts within a half mile of train stations. Our difficulty in Concord is since we have two stations and we wanted parity between the two stations.
Correct.
That put us out of their contiguity rules. So yes, this is an exercise in compliance, but it's not undercutting our compliance with the intent. Just the letter of the law is
The
a little
interpretation.
screwy. Yeah.
And there's been, also some questions raised of, why not just put MCI Concord in the district and be done with it? And I think this is probably where the select board would need to, step up and provide, their, thoughts and ideas, because it's my understanding that the same conversation that the community had, the first go around is putting areas, especially commercially zoned areas into the district, which now you have by right multifamily and taking that tax, revenue out of the commercial, revenue stream. There's going to be a master planning process for MCI Concord. There's going to be, a lot more community discussion around what the community wants to see there and how you establish zoning for that. Also where things are going to happen, to just put MCI Concord into MBTA zoning undercuts all of that community conversation.
Plus, we couldn't put in the whole parcel anyway. We'd have to, draw a circle through it for the half-mile radius, where you'd start running into too much acreage at more than 50% away, and then
Yeah.
it just gets weird.
Yes.
It's messy.
Yeah,
It's not even, it's not even a clean solution.
And there's.
Yeah.
there's
That is
even-
a,
I mean,
Yeah.
it would be great if after we decide, we the town, what should go where on the MCI Concord property, we zone some section of it as for by right multifamily, but until we had figured out what section of the property that he.
that's a separate discussion, that compliance with.
Yes.
Too many-
And there are other
Very
challenges with MCI regarding,
Yeah,
you know, within that radius, what's in that radius as well.
Yeah.
too.
Right.
So with the
Yeah.
wastewater plant being number one.
so this nice little paper compliance article seems like the way to go now, and then we should take up MCI Concord and its multifamily potential
Mhm.
when we take up MCI Concord.
I guess, Pat, you have your hand raised.
Pat,
Pat,
you're
you're,
on mute.
you're not mute, unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. I need help understanding the sentence that says additionally, all 221 unit owners of Concord Green would have to agree to sell their unit.
Really only a
So
majority.
that's in the event of redevelopment, they all have to agree in
Yeah.
order to
Mhm.
redevelop the property, so it can't become multifamily unless every single owner says we're selling to a developer.
Wait a minute, all of them? Wouldn't it just have to be a majority?
It depends what it depends what their,
100%.
They all own it. They all own it. They all
Right.
own it.
well, no, it
Okay.
depends what their,
It's 100%.
oh, it's written as 100%?
Yes.
Oh, see, that's
Yeah.
usually it's
That-
written in a way that's like 52 or 51 because they want, but if it's 100%, that's impressive.
It's 100%.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I will clarify that, Pat, say additionally, Yeah.
As a homeowner, that's.
if
true.
Concord Green were to be redeveloped, all 221 unit owners of Concord would have to agree to sell their unit.
Yeah.
So Concord Green also has in their condominium documents that no one person can own more than 2 units. And if somebody were to own more than 2 units, they have to get 75% of all of the owners to agree to that.
Wow.
Or they would have to agree to change the condominium documents to allow that. So,
That's a very cool.
Yeah,
I remember back when they were first built, our company owned a bunch of them back in the day.
yeah, so that provision, I don't know when that was put
Yeah.
in, but that was put in. The president was telling me that provision was put into the
Probably
condominium
because of
documents.
what they did with that. Back in the day.
now, I was reading along through this explanation, and it's long and it contains a lot of very good information in it. But I was thinking that, a typical member of the town meeting, voting public would get a little bit lost before they got to the good part, in a sense. And I thought it might be good to add, an overview paragraph at the beginning of the explanation to clarify for people. I emailed you about it, but like at the last second before this meeting, so you may not.
Yeah, so I'll take a look at that and,
I mean, it's a two-edged sword if you summarize and people will only read the summary and they won't bother to read the details and you can't say everything in the summary, but I still think it could be useful.
okay, yeah, no, I think.
Or at least we
that's
should
great.
think about it.
And also I'll kind of take a look at this, cause, reorientating this section and maybe putting, a lot of the state stuff.
Oh, later,
Yeah, maybe it doesn't need to be so detailed in the warrant article, but, it's my understanding that the town, will be, again, printing the articles in the bridge and then having the briefing book. So, so that's why I think having a larger explanation, is gonna be helpful.
Yeah, I don't object to the length of it. I'm just thinking that because it is long, we have to be more careful to give people guidance of the information as they go through it.
So, that may be something, with, any of the articles that the board decides to move forward with, maybe having a little summary of, this article amends. But so I'll take a look at.
Yeah, well, some of them are pretty straightforward and don't need
Yeah.
much at all.
Right.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Elizabeth,
Great.
I think that the sentence that really put it all in a nutshell for me as a sort of newbie to this is the one requirement is addressed and may throw another requirement off. And I think maybe leading with that so that people as they're reading this can keep that in mind, that you're
Right.
trying to balance all these rules and regulations.
Right.
It's just a thought.
Okay, yeah, so I'll take a look at the explanation and the order, and I'll
Yeah.
take a look at, with that in mind, and Sue's comment and, massage the explanation a little.
Thank you.
Right, we're good to move on to our next item. Administrative business.
Um,
Did I say something? Sorry.
no, so.
We're still on warrant articles.
Sorry. Just to.
So the next.
External. The
Next one you have is.
Apologies.
Exterior lighting. And Christine can walk you through. Again, Sue provided quite a few comments and questions. We're gonna meet
Wednesday next week.
Wednesday next week to kind of flush through a lot of those. So we're gonna try and address them tonight. But we took, Christine took the comments from last time, added a few things. But I'm gonna turn it over to Christine to walk through the additional questions. And
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so again, very rough draft for everyone, just saying that. And so what I'd really like for the board to discuss is in the items that are highlighted in red, the general requirements needing further discussion. And again, that is if there's nothing else within the document that, someone has a major red flag on that we should discuss, but these other requirements that I have highlighted are just ones that the board needs to talk about to see whether or not we even want to consider adding them as part of the requirements, whether they should be tweaked with the suggestions that I have shown or something different altogether. So that's what I was hoping the board could get into this evening.
So I think the first question deals with, an exemption, temporary low-level decorative lighting, including colored lamps such as holiday lighting. My question, does temporary need to be defined?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a limit. We need a limit. Temporary, what is the definition of temporary? Is it 90 days?
Well, I mean, it also needs to be more, I don't even think the timeline, it's more of what's the purpose of it, right? Your world and my world was temporary lighting, it's construction lighting, right? So we need to kind of define what it really
Well,
is.
this is decorative lighting.
Okay, so.
Construction safety lighting is.
I know, but-
is-
So decorative, in my mind, what's gonna be the biggest abuser of something like that is gonna be a business, because what they're gonna do is they're gonna move stuff. They're gonna say, okay, we're gonna light this, then we're gonna light the sign here. Those are different. And that's, I don't know how to solve that, but where you've seen people do temporary signs that somehow are semi-permanent.
But if the sign's permanent, you're gonna have permanent lighting on it. If the sign's temporary, you're gonna have temporary lighting on it.
Right, but it's still,
Well, and then in what way is it temporary? Suppose you have a lamp over here and a lamp over here, and half the year you light up this one and half the year you light up that one, but they're always both mounted. Does that count as temporary? Because this one is only on for 6 months?
But what are we lighting?
Oh, well, but is it about what you're lighting or is it about the light fixtures? These are
You know,
good questions.
it's,
So if you have a permanent light pole, that is not a temporary low-level decorative light.
well,
And light,
Okay, so it's
lights
the-
for signs is under the sign bylaw, so we don't need to
I
talk
guess,
about
I guess
signs.
my question is, and I look at examples of like, what if a store wants to put up Christmas lights over its door? Then Christmas Day goes by and they immediately change them from white to pink because it's now celebrating Valentine's Day, which is in 90
Right.
days. Then they immediately shift to blue because they're celebrating Arbor Day or what, whatever it is. And all of a sudden it's temporary because they've changed it every 90 days. Is that's the one thing that I see people doing because it stands out on the street where there's no one else doing it, and it's just, that's my concern is if you write rules that are what is temporary, I guess, and maybe it's an upper limit of number of days per year. I don't wanna like rain on the Christmas parade.
No, that's okay.
But
I know, people will abuse it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Right.
and that's
They
the
will.
hard thing.
But then we just put we put those three letters in AHJ,
Say HJ.
the authority having jurisdiction.
Oh,
So let me, so usually when I have a meeting with town council about something, I have my list.
Of like
And then
extras.
I throw in the extras, so I'll ask if they have any, thoughts on,
and it could just be not being a dick about it, I don't know.
well, there's.
No, it's good points.
It's a really good point,
It's,
especially now that with your LEDs, you can just turn the dial to the other color.
And it's not an expense, right? The
Yeah.
lighting's not a huge expense as it was
Yeah.
before.
Okay.
Rope lights, all of a sudden, it's just like
Yeah.
you're decorating a
Right.
bunch of things with rope lights and
Yeah.
it's cheap and it's
And
Yeah,
it pops
flip
out.
the color and you don't even have to change the rope, you just flip the color and
That's
that's
right.
your decoration.
yeah,
yeah.
In my neighborhood, has the permanently mounted soffit lights.
Right.
That band around.
that's right.
So anyways,
I know
okay,
people have it, they
so,
don't turn it on until after Thanksgiving.
Oh, no, you should have your Halloween lights and your 4th of July lights and your.
so the next one dealt with, luminaires mounted on the ground, including on poles or attached to ground signs shall have a height of no greater than 20 feet. So in some communities, it's been, they put a height limit on. And I'm not sure if the board wants to go in that direction, because it can depend on the site, the parking lot. You could have 310 Baker Ave, you could have taller poles for that big parking lot, fewer lights, or shorter poles and more lights. So I'm kind of, of the opinion, having that flexibility based on the actual, plan that they provide, and because you're kind of correcting things by not having the color the right. And I think the next one, the output of any luminaire on a non-residential property shall not exceed 5,000 lumens. I think that's a lot. I think,
It's a lot.
Yeah, the other one.
HDC guidelines limit it to,
I don't know how many
HDC
lumens-
is like 430. The 5,000 was taken from the dark sky mass. Their sort of general bylaw template. And a couple other communities adopted the same thing. I think Bedford says that as well. But again, it is a really high lumen level, so that's why it's up for discussion as to whether or not we want to keep that, change that, or do something different altogether.
Well, can we discuss that in a second and stick on height limit?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, so we have in here that no light can go above the horizontal plane in order to keep the sky dark. As a pedestrian and to a smaller degree as a driver, I find I'm constantly getting people's lights in my eyes because I'm below the horizontal plane of where the light is on the light pole. But that's not really a factor of the pole height that we could control, because we can't say that the lights have to be under 5'4" tall for me, or 4 feet for somebody else. So I'm not sure there's any point to restricting the pole height at all, provided that we, as we all do here, say, well, you can't have ridiculous excessive lighting. Yeah,
And the ground signs, that's in the sign bylaw, right? That's where that term comes from? Ground
Yes.
signs, yeah. I just want to confirm.
but you could have decorative lighting attached to ground signs that aren't lighting up the sign itself.
No, I understand, but
Yeah.
I just, that's usually the brightest light is the one that's like
Mm.
on the sign. So I just wanted to confirm I understood that that's what that was talking about.
Yes.
More than having an issue with.
Okay. So what about lumens?
I like H a lot better because, well, my question about G was that's each individual luminaire, but there's no restriction on the general number of luminaires. So, it doesn't seem to me that it does all that much for us, because if you have a lot of luminaires with a lower lumen output, that's just as bad as having one luminaire with a
Do
higher.
we want to go to a lumen per square foot requirement that ties kind of more to the safe, it kind of ties into the safety type of aspect.
A maximum,
Mhm.
even on the property itself. That sounds interesting. What do you think of H? Which pretty much says, well, it has to be reasonable,
So what you,
limited to what is needed for visibility and safety,
it's,
which is subjective, of course.
and that's a
Right,
minimum
so-
and that's kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and, you know, what concerns me is that if you had, Citizens Bank. You know, the foot candles they wanted around that
Yeah.
ATM were, you know, somewhere around, you know,
some,
80, 90 foot candles for safety. And it's like, okay, so safety to them is, you know,
Daylight.
daylight.
is daylight and, so, I mean, it's gonna be, I think this bylaw is gonna be one where, anybody going, you know, under this, they're gonna be going through site plan review. And so that does provide a level of, checks and balances and like other, I'm gonna say, more complicated, larger bylaw amendments. Rarely do you get it right perfect the first time, because you can't, we can't think of all the unintended
Right.
consequences. So, you know, I'm happy with what's already in there. And currently, you know, F, G, and H, I don't think they add a lot. They're. I mean, if I were to do anything, I think Christine and I can, review, do a little more research on the lumens level.
I also think you're gonna find out each of these will be handled on an individual basis. That's what, I mean, what if you're in front of the post office that keeps the American flag lit up 24/7? You need a certain amount of lumens on that, and that might go above the
This
five
is kind of
thousand.
why I like suggested provision H better than G.
Right.
So, all right, so we'll look into that one a little bit
Mhm.
more.
Hmm.
I is, you know, whether we're requiring LED or suitably equivalent sustainable alternative.
Okay.
Does any exist
Yeah.
these days?
I Well, besides LED, no, but someday it will.
Right.
Oh, but
No,
but
but
going
it's,
backwards.
you can't go
Yeah,
backwards.
You can't go to a fluorescent,
Yeah.
you can't go to a high
Right.
pressure
Right.
sodium, you can't go to a mercury vapor.
Right,
just don't
not unless
exist.
somebody figures out a way to make it more efficient than an LED. Good luck with that.
No, they're not even like commercially made all that much, are they?
No.
No,
You may get the lamps and that's about
Right.
it.
Yeah.
But I hate to just say it has to be LED, because somebody's gonna come up with some
But I
Or
mean,
better.
better thing than
Yeah.
LED.
but if that's, but I think you covered there or sustainably equivalent.
Right, I love that.
So I
think
think, I don't think we really have to worry about that and worry about
Yeah.
having to go into the high pressure sodium mercury vapor and all that
I
stuff.
agree.
Yeah.
So should we add I?
I think I should go in.
Okay.
I mean, is everyone else?
I don't think there's any harm.
Shall be LED or equivalently
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
shall
yeah.
be.
I don't think we have to include the prohibited list because
No,
the disposal
but-
cost of those things is just astronomical.
most people don't even know what they are anymore.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know what mercury.
Well, most
vapor is,
people didn't know
honestly.
what they were in the first place.
The other ones I at least recognize, mercury vapor, I did not.
I mean, you know, we haven't mentioned mechanical.
Okay, so we will add that in. And, but the alternative to saying requiring LED is, you know, you can just say prohibit high pressure sodium, mercury vapor, or incandescent.
Mhm.
But then it will turn out that somebody will invent some new horrible technology and will have failed to
Okay,
prohibit it.
all right, so we'll put I in. J and K deal with, hours that, you know, lights can be on. The past few years as the planning board has reviewed, site plans. Generally, the condition is that the lights shall be turned off. You know, an hour after the close of business or the employee. When the last employee leaves. Which, you know, I'm. It's gonna be, you know, it really is gonna be case by case
Right.
basis, you know, depending on the business.
Right.
Mhm.
So that's why, you know, K is, you know, lighting shall not be illuminated between 11 p.m. and 6 p.m. Well, there's some restaurants that stay open after
open, right.
11, you know, if the, you know, with the exception if the use is being operated such as a business open to customers, where employees are working. ATM vestibule, so, I mean, I kind of like K.
I think it spells out, and you know, it's not, has enough teeth, but not, you know, it doesn't restrict where it doesn't need to be restricted.
And it covers that safety thing that a lot of people would be concerned about, you know, that it's.
And Christine, remind me, where did K come from?
I don't have it in my notes with me, but I believe another community had this or a slight version of it that I pulled it from. This one wasn't in the Dark Sky Mass. I believe it was, I'm gonna say the wrong town if I try to think it off the top of my head. But this came from another community's a version of another community's bylaw.
So, so we know the Attorney General will allow it, so.
Yeah.
All right, so we will add in I and K. And then we'll research. We'll research the lumen levels
Mhm.
a little bit more. And I will talk to town council about temporary holiday light.
It may just be, let it go. That's fine. That's an okay thing.
Yes,
But I'm,
What if you had like in I'm just thinking of some of these, say you have a commercial business and the guy has 10 trucks there. In the parking lot, away from everything, but you don't allow him to light up his parking lot.
In the middle of
Well, no,
that,
that would be a safety thing, probably.
and there's the low level safety lighting.
Right, so you could light that up. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wouldn't think
that
that would be a
wouldn't be an
problem at all.
issue.
Under this, right? Because you're basically, as long as it conforms to the, like, there's no light bleeding, there's no, like,
Right.
it's appropriately sized for for what they're trying to accomplish. I don't think that would impact it at all.
And also, didn't it have, well, there was something about motion detecting? Are you
Yes,
concerned that,
that's-
what if somebody is sneaking into between his trucks to steal them
Right,
in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
He can have light sensors that will
Yeah.
light up the place. For his security cameras to record them.
This
on
can be.
So that's, yeah, so that's, I mean, a good question. So there's also, also having the, the under J. Where it talks about. Lights on motion controls after close of business, so long as they are timed to turn off. 5 minutes after motion is detected. I think Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, that was also in another
Town or,
community's bylaw, so whether. Whether the board wants to add that, but to your point, Alan, I'm not sure.
I was thinking of the area like behind Woods Hill Table in West Concord, where. There's, where Ray Bowden's plumbing used to be back in the day, where he kept his trucks there.
Oh, back behind Deborah's and
Yeah.
the cobbler and so
Right.
forth. But it shouldn't. Be lit up all night. I can see safety lighting and motion sensor lighting.
I remember they would have the lights on
Well,
the.
so let's do the car dealership.
Right.
Idea. So, do like Acton Toyota in Littleton.
Mm.
There's some
They are.
lighting,
Yes.
some of, yeah.
Yeah, well, almost like a mall parking lot would be. It's low
Right.
level, but it's there. Yeah,
So under K, provided the average illumination on the ground or on any vertical surface is not greater than 0.5 foot candles.
Mm.
So I think that's where that would come in. You could have the lighting on, but it's gonna be low level.
Right. 5 foot candles is really dark.
Point, yeah,
That's a bill.
0.5,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, we
What are you
can,
trying to achieve with this lighting? Is it so that something can be seen on a security camera?
No, it just, if.
light
someone's-
itself is a deterrent.
Right, if someone's driving by, they can see if someone's in between trucks or between cars or
Well,
hiding or.
But the specific
Underneath
example
kind of
you cited is not a
Right.
place that people are going to be driving by in the middle of the night.
Or they could be like walking into one of the, like his plumbing truck.
okay, so
In the middle.
well, I guess we'll think about that some more.
Yeah,
Okay.
thinking about safety.
So just to put for everyone's knowledge, 1 to 5 is the city's pathway lighting. That's the number.
Sorry, say that again?
1 to 5 lumens per square foot is the pathway lighting. But
Ah.
the general guidelines. So.
Alright. And then the next thing we need to start working on is an explanation, so I don't. Other than the current provisions are. Inadequate.
And also apply to parking and not general exterior lighting.
Yeah,
Right.
they're outdated, they're, not
So-
effective.
I don't feel the explanation for this bylaw amendment needs to be much more than that.
I agree.
It,
I don't think this one's gonna be controversial.
No, she's gonna
Oh,
go.
well, you're gonna throw temporary holiday lighting in there. Somebody's gonna be upset about their blow up Santa.
Right.
But then it will be pointed out that it's not residential and, we'll have to pin down what temporary means in terms of stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not, okay. So everybody should really start thinking about who's gonna present. All right, so I think
Well-
we have our marching orders to move on. The next version. Anything else, Christine, did I miss?
Nope. That was really it, unless somebody had something that was in the earlier section that wasn't highlighted in red that they really had an issue with. But if everyone's okay with what's drafted, obviously it'll be tweaked a bit after we meet with Sue. But that's pretty much all I needed.
Next article? If folks remember, a month or two ago, I suggested that the planning board bring forward a zoning article on, changing the maximum height in limited business district number 1, which is currently limited to 25 feet. And almost everywhere in business districts in town, it's 35 feet. And why is it 25 feet on, Elm Street where the new Dunkin' Donuts and Cross Point Plaza are, and also the Best Western Hotel? So I'm suggesting that we change 25 to 35. And I will point out, since the select board has an interest in maintaining a diverse tax base, that right now that is included in MBTA communities. So it would be possible, for example, to replace the Best Western with a multifamily all residential building. But if we make this change, it would somewhat increase the likelihood that someone would choose to build a mixed-use building there with commercial ground floor and housing above. So, and it just seems crazy. Why is this 25 feet when it's 35 feet anywhere else where we might actually have anything ever built, or higher in some places? So, the planning board members were going to mull it over, and I was gonna bring it back later. I have not made any changes whatsoever, and I hope you've mulled, and, shall we tentatively move forward with putting this on the warrant? And I would like go and talk to the EDC about it and, possibly housing groups, since it might slightly reduce the odds of getting one floor of housing, but still, on the other hand,
It wouldn't reduce it, would it? If you make it
well,
30?
in the sense of if it was all residential, that would be an extra floor of housing, but on the other hand, who really wants to have ground floor housing in that area anyhow, in terms of the residents? So, and it wouldn't prevent it,
Right.
it would just allow,
Allow it, right.
yeah, so.
So this, just so I'm clear, it doesn't exceed housing in the height in other areas, it's just
does
matching the
not.
other businesses.
There are
That's all I was,
a couple of weird.
I know, there's a couple of weird things.
59 Walden Street is the only weird one.
There's some weird thing that's open space near the high school where no one will ever build anything ever. It's a limited business district. I have no idea why no one will ever build anything there, but I don't even want to talk about it because it's so irrelevant and nothing can ever happen there. I mean, seriously.
All right, well, now I gotta look it up.
But yes, it's 35.
But it's 35,
that
every other relevant,
higher, some are higher.
that's right,
So,
okay, I just
yeah.
wanted to make sure it was,
It's completely in line with everything.
Perfect.
Yeah.
then I'm all for it as well, fine.
Okay, so I will clean that one up and have that on the agenda for January 6th for the board to review.
We have a,
Yeah, that thing. I mean, what?
And then you still have
Nobody
more.
cares.
yep, we have someone.
It was-
Ms. Savoy?
Yes, Carol Savoy, 61 Belknap Street. I just had a question about that. Would it be possible to actually just add Elm Street to the mixed use bylaw? So it would just be another option for folks, and that would automatically give it the 35 feet and all the other things in that bylaw.
It, um,
I
it
think
would
it would-
automatically change.
The height limit.
The height limit. Cause that's in the dimensional table.
We would
for
need to,
limited business one.
Well, I was just thinking, could you put it in the dimensional table, the principal use table 1? In your mixed use article and just add it there?
that wouldn't be sufficient because the height limit would still be 25 feet and nobody would build mixed use there. Right now, in this district, if you want to build an all residential building under MBTA communities, the height limit is 35 feet. But if you want to include any commercial in it, the height limit is 25 feet. And we would have to change table 3 in order to change the height limit, not just table 1.
Right, but could you maybe just add table 3 and amend table 3 in the mixed use? So it would just get everything else that you're changing in the mixed use, so it'd be consistent across all of the mixed use districts, as opposed to just bringing
Having a separate
something.
article?
Okay, so for the mixed use article, yes, currently, Elm Street, which is limited business district 1, is not in the table of users. So yes, that is something that the board should discuss as part of the mixed use bylaw amendment. But for the height requirement, the height requirement for limited business district 1 would also have to be changed as a separate article or in the dimensional table for limited business district 1 to raise it to 35 feet. Or if you were to only add limited business district 1 to the table of uses to allow combined business mixed use there, you could have mixed use there, but it would be under the dimensional table for limited business district 1. It would be limited to 25 feet.
But it's an interesting question Carol brings up as to whether we should fold this into the mixed use article or leave it as a separate article. I'd kind of be inclined to leave it separate because this would also allow people to have a fully commercial 3-story building. And I see no reason not to allow a fully commercial 3-story building in that district as well as mixed use and all residential. But that's a good point.
So that's, yeah, so I think that's something that the board can, discuss on, January 6th, and I'll add it to my town council list. Whether it's better as a separate article.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, you could just make the changes that you need to make in the mixed use, right? Which suit the height and dimensional table and add it to table 1 and everything carries through, but maybe the legal counsel will advise you on what's the cleanest way to do that. But I just figured, and I think on the mixed use article, you can have all commercial in some of it, can't you? It doesn't have to be all mixed use, or was I just read, or is that just the buildings behind can be all commercial or mixed use?
Or in front. It can be mixed across buildings on a site in that article.
I think you could put just a commercial building there if you wanted it.
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to actually move on to mixed use?
Yeah, move on.
Thank you.
No, thank you for your comment. Appreciate it.
So Sue also provided a few correction edits, which little things, which you'll see at your the next version. So the one change with this version from last version had to deal with the conversation the board had about the combined open space. So in here, I added the sentence that any combined open space shall have a shape, dimension, character, and location suitable to ensure it's used by all residents. That statement is the almost the same statement that's in the PRD section. So it's not anything new, and it is a standard that's been used. And I think that one sentence addresses that, where some units have balconies and some may not. And you can't stick, a little 24 square foot, spot here and so I think that provides enough direction and flexibility. But to Carol's point, what is not included in here, whether the board wishes to do that, is under the principal use regulation under LB. Right now, in the limited business districts, mixed use is only allowed in District 2, 3, and 7. And so whether the board wants to add limited business District 1.
I'd say we should.
I agree. Because it really would have been nice if Cross Point did, one, maybe, 2 floors of residential.
Yes, but they were limited to 25
But they
feet.
were limited to
It was on my to-do list, but I was too slow.
So I will add that to the next draft as well. And then
Thanks,
the
Carol.
other item that asking the board to provide is the special permit waiver provision. Getting rid of the, it meets the purpose and intent and it's not detrimental, which the Board of Appeals finds very challenging. So I added actual criteria. So for open space, the Board of Appeals has granted waivers for that based on what type of publicly available open space, is available to the residents in the area. They have allowed the increase in height. I think it was Brookside Square, because there was a reduction in impervious coverage and, to provide more open space and landscaping areas. And then the last is a decrease in parking spaces. And for that one, if adequate justification for a reduction in parking is provided. And that gets back to, you have the relief from parking, not necessarily going to that extent for the relief from parking requirements, but for Concord Outfitters, instead of 2 spaces per unit, they got relief to do 1 space because they were 1-bedroom units, and tenants would be permitted only to have 1 car. So I guess my question is whether there's any other criteria for, a waiver provision that, board members can think of. And I don't expect, you to have that right now, but between now and January, let's say like January 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. So by the end of the year, if there's other criteria that you can think of, that should be considered when, looking at a waiver. We can add those in and research that. And I don't, and there were no other changes to the, to the explanation. Those were the only revisions. So unless somebody has something that pops in mind right now, what I would be looking for is just feedback between, now and the first of the year, and we'll incorporate that in the next round. What I am hopeful for is that, after your January 6th meeting, and I will let town council know what's coming down the pike. Sending all of these drafts to town council on January 7th. And have them review it before your meeting on the 20th. So that, if there's any glaring, issues, concerns, opinions, recommended changes, those can be discussed on the 20th and incorporated into the final warrant. Doesn't preclude changes, as part of your motion on the floor of town meeting, but we've been trying to do this, I'm gonna say for the past 6 or 7 years, and I think it has definitely helped. Previously, the planning board would submit their warrant article. And it would
Before town council looked at it?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah. So that made
Very complicated.
more complicated at town meeting. So that, thinking of the schedule, that's what we're shooting for. And I've also been told for annual town meeting 2027, it's gonna be all MCI zoning and you won't have any other zoning articles to
no,
think about.
but I blew it on the housekeeping for this year. We have to do double housekeeping next year.
Well, okay, housekeeping, but that's it. You won't be here. So that's all I have.
Okay. I think Carol has her right. Carol Savoy.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment in regards to the explanation and this bylaw. Concord won't get another Riverwalk from this bylaw, and it's misleading to suggest that we will. Riverwalk is not a mixed-use project, and it's not in a village center. It's a small, all residential planned residential development, a pocket neighborhood of 13 cottages on 3.7 acres permitted under the PRD special permit process with shared open space, gardens, and river access. There are no ground floor shops, no commercial space, no stacked residential over retail. It is walkable to West Concord Village, but it is not a mixed use in a village center project, and it was never zoned or approved as such. By contrast, this warrant article is about mixed-use development in our commercial and village center districts. It allows larger, denser buildings that combine commercial uses on ground floor with multiple stories of housing above or below, with reduced open space requirements and a special permit path to more height and less parking. So when the explanation claims this bylaw encourages small 5 to 10 unit developments such as Riverwalk to meet Envision Concord goals, that simply is not accurate. Riverwalk is all residential, not mixed use. Riverwalk is a PRD on its own residential site, not a village center infill project. Riverwalk's scale and feel, 13 cottages, heavy open space, no retail, is fundamentally different from dense mixed-use blocks in our business district. Using Riverwalk as the poster child for this mixed-use bylaw gives residents the wrong mental picture. People hear Riverwalk and imagine a small green pocket neighborhood of cottages, but what this zoning actually enables is taller, denser, mixed-use buildings in our commercial centers, which is with very different traffic, parking, shadow, and character impacts. I am asking the planning board to remove or correct this language. If you want to reference Riverwalk, it should be in the context of a PRD reform and small-scale residential infill, not as justification for a broad mixed-use upzoning in village centers. Concord deserves clear, accurate explanations so voters can understand what we are really being asked to approve. Please remove number 3, Riverwalk, under the explanation section. Thank you.
So I'll work on that. Those items are not, they're not explanations. Those are actual items pulled from the Envision Concord comprehensive plan. as action items.
Mhm.
And that action item is, yes, encourage developers to build housing the town wants and needs, especially denser housing near town centers or small 5 to 10 unit developments such as river walking ways that reinforce existing historical character and support sustainable development practices by adopting zoning provisions to encourage the redevelopment of the Thoreau Street Depot area and adjacent Crosby Market area to allow mixed use multifamily development. This is action item 4.361. So this is directly taken from the Envision Concord.
So it seems to me the difficulty here is that this action
It's a
item
very
combines
long
two
run-on
things.
sentence that
And-
combines two things.
So what if we either shortened it by deleting the first half and replacing it with an ellipsis? Or alternatively, italicize the second half because it's the relevant part. Because
An
it is a
ellipsis
fair
three
point that,
Put a period in, just.
Well,
No,
it's,
3 dots.
no, we're quoting something, so we
Or you
can't
could-
yeah,
put
modify
brackets.
it,
You could
but
also
we
put
can
brackets to indicate.
change the typeface or put in an ellipsis.
Yeah.
In order to clarify what we're talking about.
okay, and I
Right,
will
and it don't-
also, I can italicize those to show
Just
that.
just the second part about mixed use, which
No,
is
well,
what this is
one,
about.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3, and 4, those are actual
Okay.
sections from the Envision Concord plans. Italicize them to set them apart as,
Yeah.
the-
Right, I just think the whole thing is very confusing when you talk about the, envisioned Concord, and then you list those 4 things, like number 3, the first half, I discussed Riverwalk. I think I brought up Thoreau Depot and Crosby's Market before, because the way it reads, people like, oh, this mixed use is only applying to, Thoreau Depot and Crosby's that they want to develop. So that's when I brought up, like, you should really explain to people that, no, this is applying to all these different areas, because table 1, table 1, you have those abbreviations, but nobody knows what they mean. So usually when you put a term in somewhere, you define those terms or abbreviations. And that's what I asked you to do before, was to define, CCB and TBD and NACB and table
Yeah.
1, where you
So,
did define them in the bottom paragraph, but it doesn't really explain when, you just say, oh, it does, continue to do that, but nobody can tie that last paragraph, WCV up to table 1, like that should be under table 1 somewhere, or just define each one, because it still
Yeah, I
reads
can-
like.
I can only define it in the explanation. I can't define it in the table because that's actually part of the bylaw, and
It would
So-
modify the bylaw.
it would modify the bylaw and so, but I can, if there is an abbreviation used in the explanation, I can go through and make sure that those are spelled out first. But I can't, in the table, like there's WCV, West Concord Village, I can't.
No, but you can put in the explanation what
If there,
what it
if,
stands for.
yes, if there are any, we can,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Yeah, I think that would be good in the last paragraph. And I think you should really consider removing all of 3 or somehow explaining it, because if you read this, the first sentence, I think, right before the colon in number 1, it says this amendment seeks to create opportunities should a property owner decide to utilize this provision to create vibrant commercial areas and meet the goals of the community. But then they read it and they're like, oh, the goal of the community is to develop Thoreau and Crosby's. Oh, that's all this applies to. Oh, okay, yep. And I want another Riverwalk. So I think it's very confusing, this whole explanation. I think you should clarify that this, applies to all these areas across town. And if you include this number 3, that it doesn't, you're not going to get a development like Riverwalk, and you're not just getting Thoreau and Crosby's, you're getting everything else, right?
Thank you for your comment. take a look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not my laptop, I get anybody else.
Oh,
Sorry,
Hang on.
my apologies.
No,
Okay. I think we're good to move on to planning board liaison and town plan updates. Unless I'm something else.
No.
Okay, sorry.
the only update I have, I don't know if I did this last time, is, the town was awarded a Safe Routes to Schools grant, a Signs and Lines grant for Alcott School. So it's, it's just a little $10,000 reimbursement grant. Usually they have more money, so like last year we got one. We actually, I think, went to 12,000, but, they will be moving forward, to upgrading, some signage, one of the accessible ramps on the, walk to Alcott. So that was good.
So what?
I'll take it.
Exactly.
Great.
In the land use working group, we've been meeting. We had a session last week. We walked the existing wastewater plant. It's actually a pretty clean facility. I've been through enough of them, and that one's very well maintained. And the topic there is relocating the DPW. Depending on, we're trying to look at, putting together a list for the select board to consider. And that for possible relocation spots, and there's one of them, there are those, MCI obviously is on the list. But it's not only that, it's also, the fire department in West Concord, the fire station there is way like out of whack there, and so. That station, we have to buy a specialized fire truck to fit in that station. So it's part of that. Yeah, so that's.
Put a down ramp in.
So that's there. That's it.
CPC is chugging along. Had some good meetings and some good discussion, and that should wrap by the end of the year, I think. With final recommendations for funding and whatever, yes, and one other thing I will mention is this Saturday is the Effective Governments Workshop.
Oh,
which is a
that's
new
right.
thing to prepare for town meeting,
Good.
8:30 prompt-ish. On Saturday, at the townhouse. It'll be about warrant article submission and review, preparing for public hearings and presentation development. There's a panel, select board, town moderator, finance committee rep, and myself. And my plan was to discuss the basics of what it takes to get a warrant article, and in particular, approaching town staff early with your planned warrant article, so you can discuss it instead of dropping it on their laps as a finished product, as well as coming to the planning board early and often to discuss your presentation. So that, yes, very early. So that way the, basically emphasizing that the more contact you have with town staff and planning board, which represents an engaged group of citizens who have some experience in this, it will help you better shape your presentation. Because you don't want the public hearing to be the first time you're presenting it to the public, because that can go poorly. And that's not even a lesson that's a lesson the planning board also needs to learn at times, is that no matter how well you think it's crafted, you need to say it out loud in front of other people. And where time is the biggest premium at town meeting, it also gives you an opportunity to hone your message a lot more succinctly. So your 45-minute presentation can fit into the 10-minute, 4-minute slot you're actually allocated at town meeting. So that's just what I'll cover. I don't know if anyone else had any thoughts or anything else I should bring up and make sure that we say. But I think it's supposed to be a loose sort of more discussion. I think Carmen and Mark Howell are gonna really do the bulk of the presenting. And it's just, on Lois as sort of a backup. But yeah, actually interesting. Don't know who's gonna show up to this, but everybody seems excited, so.
I'll be in Washington.
I'll be in New Hampshire. Not as exciting.
You be skiing.
No. Unfortunately, I missed the last MCI Concord meeting and I haven't had a chance to watch the recording yet. So I have nothing to say at this time.
And I have nothing on West Concord.
Pat, do you have anything to add?
Yep. I have not been able to make it to Transportation Advisory Committee meetings, but I've been looking at their minutes and I'm encouraged that they're still working on refining their charge and that the town manager gave some input into how they're redefining it. From what I have observed, I think it's great to be, this is such an important committee, given its impact on things that we do on the planning board, for it to have a clearer sense of what their charge is. So that's my thoughts on that. The last time they updated it was 2021.
Excellent. Anything else, or
No.
I think next last thing is minutes. I looked at them, I saw you added this.
Perfectly happy to move that we accept the minutes of 9:30 as drafted.
Second.
Okay, so we'll go through a roll call vote. Pat Nelson,
Aye.
Alan Bogosian,
Aye.
Sue Pelsham,
Aye.
Andrew Warden,
Yes.
and myself, a yes. So with that, meeting is adjourned.